Hey y'all, Coach in the Fight here on January the 31st, 2022 on the Gregorian calendar. Well, in this video, we're going to do our new moon prediction for the 11th month on the sacred calendar. Now, what you're looking at is the monthly calendar that we put out for the 10th month. And you see we're coming to an end of that 10th month. If you understand the way this calendar is written, you understand that our Sabbath day begins tonight. So for those of you who are just tuning in, I say it again. The sacred Sabbath day starts on the evening right after sunset on January the 31st and will end Tuesday evening at sunset. Now, if you're watching this video a little late and you feel remorseful that you have missed the Sabbath day, don't worry. Remember the rule says to work 6 days and take a rest day. So simply by taking a rest day, today even, you will meet the requirement of a Sabbath day. But when you come to knowledge of the correct Sabbath day, you will also realize that it is very important to get that day right. And for a biblical reference, we can come to Ezekiel chapter 46, verses 1 through 3, which explain that the new moon day, or the first day of the month, is actually a sacred day. Very similar to the Sabbath day, this will be a day when we receive spiritual rejuvenation, spiritual guidance, as well as rest for our bodies. There's healing involved with this day, talking about the new moon day and the Sabbath days. It is my understanding that we can meet the biblical requirement by keeping any day as a Sabbath day. But if we want to take advantage of what our Father has to offer, we have to take a rest on His special day. Those are the days that we can truly expect Him to be active in our spiritual walk, but it is necessary that we be restful on those days so that He can do His work. But anyway, let's come over and let's see when that day is. Now, many people ask me for a calendar. They want a calendar that they can put on their wall and reference as to what day it is, like we do the Gregorian calendar. But the problem is the sacred calendar and the Gregorian calendar don't work the same at all, even down to the number of days in a year. The Gregorian calendar has 365.24 days in it, whereas the sacred calendar only has 364 days in it. On the Gregorian calendar, the day starts at midnight. On the sacred calendar, the day starts at sunset. And there are several other differences that makes the two incompatible. But what's being offered here is a way to reconcile the two calendars. Now, this idea is not original. I got this from a guy named Hillel II, who, under the persecution of Constantine, tableized what he called the Metonic cycle, which is a 19-year period in which the celestials repeat themselves. In other words, if you was born on a full moon that fell on a Wednesday at the end of spring, on your 19th birthdays, the calendar on the wall would look exactly the same as it did the day you was born. It would still be a full moon and it would still be a Wednesday at the end of spring. The problem with Hillel II's table is that it didn't take into account all of the celestials used to make up our Creator's sacred calendar. Let me show you what I mean. Coming over to the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verses 14 through 16, we see the elements of His timepiece like the hands of a clock. And when you look closely at verse 16, you see not only do you have the sun, which is the greater light, and you have the moon, which is the lesser light, but you also have to consider the stars. And Hillel's II calendar, just like the Jewish calendar, which uses that Hillel II table to reckon their months, they don't take into account the position of the sun and the moon relative to the stars. And that's why in some years, like the year 2021, their calendar is off by a month. I say all of that to give credit where it's due when you're looking at this, what I've tableized as the new Metonic calendar. This takes into account all three elements, the sun, moon, and the stars. This is why we call our calendar a celestial calendar, not a solar lunar calendar like the Jewish calendar is. But anyway, let me show you how this works as we predict the new moon for the 11th month in the year 2022. So, real quickly, what we do is we come first and find the year 2022. Now, it's important to note that this is a 19-year Metonic cycle. So, this will be the same as the year 2041 and the year 2060. If and when I update this table again, I will find a way to represent that here. But for now, you just need to know that when this calendar ends at 2039, it actually starts again at 2040. Now, as an aside note, the beauty of this calendar is that it is perpetual. You can have this calendar printed out and laminated and use it as long as the sun and the moon and the stars align as they do today. If they ever change, you can ball this up because it won't work anymore. But until that day, the way we use this calendar is we come and we find the year 2022, and then we find the month that we're in. Now, I understand that this makes it a little bit complicated the way this is written. You have to understand these numbers here. But to get all of this information on one table, I had to write it this way. So we come down and we look for the next new moon. Now, this shows the 0% moon, not the crescent moon, not the visible moon. I decided to do it this way because the crescent moon has to be verified with the naked eye, and there's no way to tabulize that. So what I did was I put the 0% moon, which can easily be calculated by mathematics, which means that these are not predictions. These are calculations of the 0% moon. And as an aside note, I repeat this often, we can only use this table as reference because we're still going to have to go out and verify the new moon. For instance, you see here that the next new moon in 2022 will be January the 31st, and it will occur at 2300 hours or 11 o'clock at night. That's when we can expect the moon to be at 0%, an invisible moon that nobody on the planet will be able to see. Now, this date here, January the 17th, is the date of the portal or the gate that we read about over in Enoch. This is how our calendar works. When we have the first new moon that falls after January the 17th, we know that we are in the 11th month or the month Shevat. And there are other ways to pronounce it. But anyway, what we do armed with this data, knowing that there will be a 0% moon on January the 31st at about 2300 hours, we then start to look out for the sliver of the new moon. It must be noted that it takes around 24 hours for the moon to gain enough light to become visible for us. So, if there is a 0% moon on January the 31st at 2300 hours, then we know that it will not be possible to see the new moon until the 1st of February at 2300 hours. Now, you will not see that moon either because the sliver of the new moon will set almost immediately after the sun sets. It will be well gone after 2300 hours. So it would actually be the next day, February the 2nd, right at sunset, that we should see the new moon or the sliver of the moon. And again, I stress, this has to be verified by the naked eye. So to be careful, what we will do is we will go out on January the 31st to make sure that there is no moon to be seen. And then on February the 1st, once again, we will start looking for the sliver to verify that no one has seen the new moon. And if that be the case, then we will go back again on the 2nd to lay eyes on the sliver of the moon. And that is the day we will blow the trumpets to let everybody know that a new month has started. So, I hope you understand the beauty of this table. I do need to modify it, I can see now. I will be doing an update, but in the meantime, we can practice and use this calendar. As long as we have some way of keeping track of the Gregorian calendar, which may be the only thing we have when the sun and the moon are darkened, we can use it to reconcile and know what day we are actually on the sacred calendar. So let's go and let's look at some data online to see if this prediction is plausible. All right, so we're going to come over and we're going to use this table at timeanddate.com, looking at the data for the moon. Now, this is January, so we come all the way down to January the 31st. And what we see on January the 31st is that we have a 0.5% moon visible in the sky. Now, on the 30th, you had a 3.5 moon visible in the sky. If you wanted to see it, you would have to look in the eastern sky in the morning time, in the morning of the 30th. And you could be the heads up to let people know that the new moon is coming for those who can actually see it in the west. But we see here that even those in the west will see nothing on January the 31st because the moon is waning crescent, meaning it's getting smaller, and it is only 5%. That is what we call the dying moon. Then when we come to February, using the same data from timeanddate.com, we see that on January the 1st, the moon will be waxing crescent, and it is likely that it will not be possible to see a 0.6% moon in the sky. But like I said, we have to lay eyes on it, so we will try to see it. And if we do, we'll blow the trumpets on the 1st. But more than likely, we will not be able to see such a small percentage of the moon, so we'll go back out on February the 2nd and see a 3.6% moon. And this is when the trumpets will blow around the world, letting us know that a new month has started. Now, normally in these new moon prediction videos, we go into greater detail on what occurs during the month. And I don't plan on doing that this time because this type of video is really only seen in its current season. In other words, nobody's going to go back and watch a video about the new moon prediction from years ago. But I will offer you this verse here because I think it is extremely important in relationship to the covenant and the spiritual walk. Understanding that it was on the 11th month when the book of Deuteronomy starts. You remember the story of Moses and how he wrote the books of Exodus and Leviticus early in his ministry, but he wrote the book of Deuteronomy at the end of his ministry. So after he had had many years of walking around in the wilderness and the law, this is the book that he wrote. Probably one of the most important books in the Bible. Well, you see that this came to him in the 40th year, in the first day of the 11th month. Well, that day corresponds to February the 2nd in the year 2022. So make sure you have that subscription button pushed. Make sure you have that bell notification button pushed if you want to see the video that we put out giving more details on these monthly events. Go ahead and hit that like button and please leave us a comment. We really appreciate your feedback.
Trumpets being blown, the Father unlocking the seals. John saw it in the vision. Now we finally here. Praise Abba, he sent us Enoch. Now the calendar's clear. Keeping the true feast in the Sabbath. Now it's time to rebuild. This grace period's an
pray for us and peace and safety unto your home.
His mercies endure. It's at the door. Pray you escape it and stand before the Savior. Praise Abba. We can't tell our neighbor they in sin. They say if we keep in the proper days, if our calendar that we count our days on is wrong, let's keep it real. Let's keep it all the way on it. Let's get on these proper times. The answers are there when the Savior come back. He looking for talents and who did work with what he gave him while he was gone. He ain't tell nobody wait till I come back and do the work when I get back. Faith plus works.
I love you guys and see you in the comment section.